sort of the same question. So, you know, in the back here, okay? Just raise your hand if you can. Okay, so how many of you have attended one or signed in or watched one of our prior Campfire chats? All right, cool. So we do them quarterly. We started actually last year at this time in May. Lori and I stood up and, you know, we just said, hey, we don't really have an agenda. We will answer any question that members ask. If we don't know the answer, we'll tell you. If it's something confidential, we'll tell you we can answer because of that, but we'll answer any question we can. That holds true here too. This is all about informal communications, right? We have a lot of stuff that comes out from our club that comes out in email, it's a website, but you don't get that interactive, right? So that's what I'm hoping from all of you to ask any question you want, and we're the people that can probably answer. First, I think all of you hopefully know, well, me, Eric McHenry, and Lori Plummer, our corporate manager. So a little bit about our structure. So again, we have around 18,000 members, or around 9,000 Airstreams, and we have 6 people total in headquarters that sit in Jackson Center, Ohio. If you ever go to Jackson Center, you'll notice a huge, big, pretty factory, and our club headquarters is about a half a mile down the road.
We're 2 miles to the east.
Yeah. 2 miles to the east.
Same road.
Same road.
One stop, traffic light, and then we're on the other side.
What do you mean same road? There's only one road.
It's
You told me you can control him.
2 days.
2 days, yes. And so stop by the club headquarters. They're always really busy, but they're always welcome our members to come in, sit down, relax a bit, buy some merchandise, ask questions, whatever. So I think I want to just kick off talking about what's new this last year and things that are coming up. The thing, though, that I want to talk about first is the role of the region presidents. So we've got this thing called the International Board of Trustees. And in prior years, that group met 1.5 times a year. They met at the International Rally, and they had an IBT meeting, International Board of Trustees, and they met once in mid-year, called mid-year IBT. But really, they only had the opportunity 1.5 times a year to talk about how our club is run, to talk about our member interests, members' priorities, stuff like that. Now we meet at least 4 times a year on Zoom, and actually probably more like 6 times in intermediate meetings. So I want to encourage all of you to don't just talk to me or Lori, but fundamentally first talk to your local club and your region president, because the reason why the region presidents are on the board is they're there to represent the interests of the needs. Think of it as your representatives, right? And they understand everything now about the club. They didn't have that opportunity 2 years ago, but I guarantee you now that all of the region presidents are deeply involved in our priorities I'll talk about. They understand our finances. We have some partnerships that we're talking about one tomorrow we're going to talk about. They're all involved with that, so they're very heavily engaged, and they're looking for you. As you guys probably know, we have a discussion in about a week or 2 about where our club goes with our communications platform, which is a combination of website, email, Blue Beret, annual metric, or things like that. So the region presidents are going to be meeting in about a week, talking some more about that. So get them your information. We'll talk about it here too if you want. But first, I want to talk about our strategy session. So we got together in Jackson Center, the board did. We flew everyone out, or they drove out. And we spent 3 days talking about what are the things that are of most interest to our members, right? And so the problem we have is that if you ever worked in a company, the company has all of these things they want to do, but only has the resources to do some of them. And resources, I mean staff and money. So we have to prioritize where we invest our time and our money as a club, because we just can't do it all. So this whole discussion we had back in Jackson Center over 3 days with the region presidents was, what are our priorities, what will it cost, and what's the time frame to get it going? So what we decided after days of talking was that the top priority, well, I'll just say them it's not really top to bottom, but there's 6 of them. The first one is internal communications. And I hope you all have seen that we've actually, I think, done a really good job in the last couple of years of really strengthening your internal communications. Some people say you get too many emails, some people say you don't get enough, but I think what you're starting to see that across social media and the emailing platforms, the messages from the presidents, we're really trying hard to communicate with our members. And this is another example of having two-way communication. So internal communications is getting better, but we have to do better. The second one was external communications. And that means the people that are not members as well as dealers, right? So Laverne and I, my wife Laverne, we live in Santa Rosa, California. Our dealer, we're fortunate, is a gentleman who talked at the opening ceremony, Ted Davis. He owns about 7 or 8 dealerships on the West Coast. He's really good, he's really well involved, but that is not the case uniformly across the US. Some dealers, they're just not involved, they may not have an understanding of what our club does. They may view our club as a nuisance versus an asset, like Ted talked about. They may or may not have our club materials available. Like if you own a club into a dealer, they may have something to talk about WBCCI, ACI, or they may not. And so we need to do a better job of making sure that when anyone goes into a dealership, there's updated information about our club. We help them understand, like Ted talked about, the value of our club. Another data point we've heard from several dealers and from Airstream Inc. is that I think it's over half, a large percentage of people who are buying Airstreams now, it may be their first thing they've ever towed behind a truck, if they even have a truck. They may never have camped before. To them, they see these gorgeous advertisements of this Airstream parked next to a lake, and the family sitting outside on chairs. And then they go pick up the Airstream, and they gotta tow it, they have the sway bars, they have the sewer tubes, they have the water, the heater doesn't work, and it's a disconnect from what they expected. Some people will just say, well, this really wasn't for me. But other people, they find our club. And I guarantee you the dealers that work with our club love it because they realize that if they can get one of their new buyers to come to our club, guess what? All the resources that we have help them, encourage them, and they start to realize that owning an Airstream is more than this piece of aluminum, it's this community. And so Airstream Incorporated, the manufacturer, one of their biggest goals is to have brand loyalty or brand stickiness. What do they say? They say that they want every Airstream owner to always buy another Airstream. And they also understand that, again, it's not just about aluminum, it's about this community, because a lot of people, they stay in, they become active, and they say, I can't buy another fifth wheel or a trailer. I may want a bigger one, but I'd lose a community. So that's brand stickiness. And so Airstream more and more is starting to view us as a critical component to brand stickiness. So that's external communications. Welcoming and retaining members. That's something that I think all of you understand, that you may have 100 people in your local club, but you may only see 30 of them. People will join, they may not come to a rally, they may not know how they fit in. So those of you with the first timer ribbons, we started this a number of years ago, international rallies, because we heard over and over again that a new member, a person would come to an international rally for the first time, and you can see them kind of wandering around, they don't really know anyone, and they feel lost, and some just don't come back again. Now we have over 700, I think, people here in this rally that are first timers. And we're trying to do a concerted effort to make sure that we welcome them and they come back again. And we need to have that in our local clubs also. And it's really easy to forget about that. I'm guilty of that, right? I sit down in a rally, I see these people I haven't seen since Pinwood or something, and I go right to them and we're talking, and someone else is standing there and they can just walk away. Right, and we all do it. We see our friends again. So we're trying to give them some tools to local clubs about how to welcome and retain new members. One of the things that Lori and her team have done is that for every new member since probably 2 or 3 months now,
Sure.
when they
My days are lost. So
and so a lot of these members that have been a member for a long time, I call this legacy members. You don't know this, but they get this really gorgeous packet that says "Welcome to the club," nice individually printed name badges. And now, as of about 2 months ago, they get a letter right away from our club saying, hey, welcome to the club, you're a new member, here's a new place on the webpage, here's some assets, here's how to find camping spots, here's how to do this, here's things coming up. And then about a month or so later, there'll be some more communication to new members to get them to feel welcome and to know how to get engaged. The next one was infrastructure. And so by that I mean our physical assets. So for example, we have a building in Jackson Center that was built in the 1980s.
1985.
And we've kicked that can down the road. If you work in a city, your local government, or you live in a city, you look at the streets, the buildings, and it's really easy for an organization to just forget about that stuff because the building hasn't fallen down, the roof hasn't leaked. We've done frankly a very poor job in putting aside capital reserves for building maintenance. You know, software now is a big part of our operation. Well, guess what? Software licenses are not cheap either. And so that's infrastructure too. And so we're starting to plan now for how do we put in place a capital budget or capital reinvestment plan or maintenance plan for all of our physical assets, including our building down in Jackson City. And the last one is training at all levels. We hear over and over again from the local clubs that, you know, we strong arm, you know, David here to be an officer, and he's like, well, okay, I guess. And we don't tell you how to do it. We don't give you documentation. We don't have quick guides on how to run a rally. Hey, there's a membership, you know, chair portal online. Do you have that? This was a lot of training, and that goes from the local clubs, frankly, us to the executive council. We're going to be bringing on 9 people to the executive council, and there's all this stuff that we do that they have no idea about in general. So we got to figure out how to train these people so that we jump in and become effective. So those are the 6 priorities our club has. There's probably 20 to 30 pages underneath that talk about some things we're starting to do, but we're trying to align around those. And so if you hear me talk or Lori talk or a board talk, more and more you'll hear this is aligned with our internal communication strategy. This is aligned with our direction on infrastructure. This is aligned with our outreach to, you know, new other people outside our organization. So those are our top things. There's some things that didn't make the cut because prioritization is all about you do this, but you can't afford to do this. So things that we would love to do that we'll look at in probably 6 months and maybe they bumped up or bumped down. There's one that we've been talking about at this rally is that how better to incorporate our historical components of our club into our club. Our club has had a relationship with Airstream Inc., where a lot of our historical stuff has gone to Airstream Inc. to hold for us. We believe strategically that stuff should actually be held by our club. So that's kind of a low-cost thing. The historical committee is working on that. But anyway, those sort of things that were going on in our club. So first, any questions on our top strategic priorities?
Just wonder, you said 6, but you only mentioned 5, so I don't know if you missed one or.
We're counting.
You out. There's 5. I can't count.
Okay, just to make sure you did so
Very good.
Okay, we have 5.
Do you have a timeline for each of those?
Yeah, we have a rough timeline, but frankly, we're just getting good at this. This was our first strategy planning meeting ever in the club in Jackson Center. We're having another one next April, I think it is. March in Jackson Center. So we'll get better at this because with any strategic plan, you need an operational plan underneath it. And by the way, I get accused sometimes of being too corporate, but in fact, I am corporate. And I say this because we all love to camp. But at the same time, our operating budget, if you include caravans, is around $3 million or so. This rally here is about just shy of $1 million budget. We have to, as some corporate organization, act like a business because we in fact are a business. You know, we have investments, we have CDs, we have other deposit structures, we have infrastructure, we have taxes, and so we don't manage those like a business. So those stay within the board, and hopefully this stays fun. But when people say, "Hey, Eric, we're a camping club," it's like, yeah, that's true,
our
but
product.
that's our product,
Right.
right?
That's our product,
And it takes
yeah.
work behind the scenes. So I thank all the officers, the board of trustees who dive into these now very lengthy financial things. We used to never review our finances in our board. Now every quarter, we look at the past quarterly results. We look at our membership growth compared to projected budget. We look at our expenses compared to projected expenses. And we're gonna be starting something the next year where we actually relook at our budget at least on every 6 months, and maybe every quarter. So we're gonna be announcing something tomorrow with Airstream, which I think will increase the number of members coming into the club, which is both good and it's challenging. But with that projected growth, we have to make sure we're on track for that. So we'll look at it in 6 months and say, hey, did we really hit that growth target? Did we not? Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, good question. Yes.
Eric, I'm so glad to hear about the training. I feel like my involvement in the club has been a time after time reinventing the wheel from membership to VP, soon to be president. We each have our own way of doing it, and that's okay, but it'd be nice to have some commonality and some
Yes.
common resources to go to.
So part of it, and I'm not being political, but there's things about, we call it states' rights in our group, right, in our nation, right? You need to give some autonomy to the local clubs, because we have 103 local clubs, we're not all the same. But at the same time, we need some sort of overarching things. Like, for example, the region presidents say, look, all of us are fighting with MailChimp right now. Why don't we have a club-wide subscription to MailChimp? They can bring in our membership data, not us have to download it every month, right? Stuff like that we're looking at, right? Rally events, there's a big push to request. You know, when we put on a rally, we want to take online registration, which by and large is the most thing that people do nowadays. Why does every club have to set up an online registration thing? Why can't we have something centralized? Dropbox account, storage account, things like that. And so, you know, we're trying to say, what is that balance of what the local clubs want to do versus what we provide at the infrastructure at the high level? So, good question. There was another question? Yes.
In reference to membership retention, the club doing anything to provide dealers with information about the club? Because just in the last year, we've met 5 different Airstreamers that have had brand new Airstreams, got them through a dealer, and knew absolutely nothing about the club.
So come to our announcement tomorrow, but I'll let Lori talk a little bit about that.
So we are aware of that. I mean, we have some clubs, or I'm sorry, some dealers that we work hand in fist on, that they do everything they can. They help sponsor our rallies, they give newbie rallies, they help finance those. But we are working with Airstream Inc. to get a better line to the dealers. And it's a kind of, as Justin explains to me, it's a little complicated because sometimes the dealers are very possessive of their customers and they don't know what benefits we can help them with. So actually, I don't know if this is, Eric and I are going to have the privilege this year to attend the Airstream Dealer Conference. We were just invited to that. I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying that, but you all know that now, right?
But don't tell anybody.
But we are super excited to be able to be there with all of the Airstream dealers to just expose ourselves and really inform them of what we could do for them. Hand in
I'm
hand.
talking about like a packet of some type of
Yes,
steel
yes.
cap. If somebody purchases an Airstream from them, they get.
Yes, so we've done that before, and some dealers just throw it out. We used to put a packet in every single trailer that rolled out of Jackson Center, they got thrown out. So we're gonna approach it a little bit differently by getting face to face with some of these dealers. And if they want material, I will hand deliver it to them no matter where they are, but we're gonna make that happen.
Question.
Go ahead.
So, really, I've got 2.
Okay.
One is, I'll piggyback on the question about dealers. Is there a liaison within the club that works directly with dealers?
No,
Okay.
not right now, but we are working on that strategy. Actually, we talked in depth about that at our strategy session with the region, trying to devise a method to how that's gonna happen, working with Airstream Inc. And we believe it's gonna roll down to the regions, dealers within a region, and then hopefully we can get region representatives to figure out who can work with what dealer best.
Perfect. So my follow-up question is kind of piggyback on this one too. Is I believed I heard when you were talking needs out of your strategy planning session included vertical infrastructure for the club. You got an old building, you need something new. Are you considering, and I'm not saying this to let anything out, but are you considering a capital campaign to raise funds for that specific need of owner membership? That's not a bad thing. I'm just curious if you're planning to support that through the corporation, through the club, through this dealer.
Okay, let me restate the question is really around our physical infrastructure. And so again, there's, your board of trustees is all aware and very involved in this, by the way. They all know this. Some of it we're not talking about publicly, but yes, we're looking at a plan which should come to fruition shortly about addressing our club infrastructure in Jackson Center. That's almost certainly gonna happen for the next couple of months, I believe. with any real estate thing, and some of you may notice on one of our IBT agendas recently, it was a closed session on real estate transaction. And that is exactly what we were talking about. And the reason why it was closed session is that if you've ever looked at trying to negotiate a real estate transaction, that is not a public discussion you want to have on pricing and on terms. The amount of real estate available in Jackson Center is limited, and it's a competitive market. So the board voted on that, and we have reports forward on that. That's the
Thank
one.
you for responding.
The second thing is we're also looking at improving our member experience when you come to Jackson Center. So how many of you have been to Jackson Center? Oh, wow.
Do we think the Terraport's a 5-rivet Terraport?
So 10 days.
So one of the things we're obviously looking at is how to improve that member experience, both for visiting and for parking in Jackson Center for our members. Again, that's something that if we do it, it will be through a capital campaign. A capital campaign is that it won't be funded by your membership dues, it will be funded by members or outside organizations. All right, that's what a capital campaign is. And we're starting to think about that very intensely. And again, I expect that we'll be talking about that publicly in a couple of months. But yes. And again, as I told you early on, I'll answer any question, but some of them are confidential, I can't talk about yet. But I will say you definitely want to go to the talk we're having tomorrow. Justin Humphries is talking. He and I will be announcing the agreement that Bob Wheeler, the CEO, and I signed about a month and a half ago, and what that means for both organizations. Yeah.
Is that the keynote speaker that's on the schedule? Is that the one we should not miss?
Yes, yeah, Justin Humphries, the VP of Sales, he's flying in today. He'll be giving his presentation tomorrow, and he also gives away a lot of goodies. So, that gift certificate's worth money. So make sure you're there, you have to be there to be present. Somebody else had a question over here, back here.
I have a question more like about communication and direction of membership and things like that. Brand new member, moved into a 55 and older community like that. Gonna be in this world for many, many years to come. What I am finding is the pushback of the growth within the club from older members. I think we need to keep, thing about Airstream is our traditions are amazing, which kind of drove us towards this community. But I'm also finding a little difficulty in the growth of the club based upon,
Yeah, and we've noticed that, and it's been a challenge for some clubs. Some of them are adapting, and others are actually, we're forming new clubs. Actually, we have a new club in process right now. Just because we know the challenges, right?
Right.
When you get a couple hundred people and you're trying to do a rally, trust me, I'm not looking for these sites for this thing. So it's not easy to find hookups, right? If you want a couple hundred people. But yes, we are aware of that, and we're trying to find those tools to help those clubs adapt. Again, talking about a MailChimp and things like that.
Okay.
Somebody back here, what she's had her hand up like you're working. You're on the spot. What do you want? Don't record it.
Okay, so I just wanted to go back to membership. When we bought our first Airstream in Portland, by the way, and I'm Canadian, so just go with that. That was my closest Airstream dealer. At the time we bought ours, I will tell you that the BC Club at that time, 2 days after we arrived home with our brand new trailer, the president of the club was knocking on our door. He has that information. So one of the things I have always carried in my Airstream trailer, and I'm very good friends with Teresa Taylor, so you'll know where that's coming from. I always have the brochures. If you want to be a member, I carry blue berets with me. I talk to people. We've just come back from a 6-month trip. 3 of the brand new Airstreamers that knew nothing about the club are now members of your club.
Well, thank you. And
All
we do
because of talking.
exactly. We do have brochures. So anybody, call headquarters and ask them, and we can get brochures out to y'all on that.
Wait, we use back and forth. Go ahead.
Yes.
I just wanted to follow up with your discussion about Jackson Center headquarters.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll restate it. Go ahead.
Anyway, you talked about trying to expand capital expenditures. If you consider you have a lot of property in headquarters, is putting in an actual
Yes, yes, it's part of the discussion.
So we own 10 acres in Jackson Center, is what the farmland behind us is ours, and right now it's farmed out. So we got 10 acres to play with.
And I would say also publicly, you know, if you're ever involved in a development project, the last thing you want is the local community to hear it randomly. You want to come up with a proposal for what we're doing, how it impacts the neighbors, how it impacts traffic, how it impacts the downtown business. And until you have that, you don't want to announce it.
I have two things. I didn't want to get this lost in the weeds because I've asked for it before. Rather than sending us brochures, some of us are on the road for a long time. My old New Jersey group had a great relationship with Colonial, but many people are buying or they're selling Airstreams, and you've got so much to learn. It gets lost in the weeds about our club. This is a hidden treasure. This club is amazing. So if, rather than me ringing you and send me brochures, put something on the website, one sheet that I can print off. I've met at least 25 people just in the last week that don't belong to the club. I don't need a fancy brochure, but just something more than what I can say. I used to carry local brochures, but that would be really handy. My second point is to do with the strategy about communication. I think you're leading our Airstream Club in a great direction, etc. I've been a member for 7 years. Communication can be two ways, and I've requested several times. This is a fabulous event, and there's little tweaks or really things that we love. Please do a survey. The same with when we voted. I loved the voting actual process, like just clicking the buttons, but I spent at least an hour and a half going through those videos and things. And I think the club is going in the right direction, but we just need to do little tweaks and at least be heard, because this is a great volunteer effort. I love this. It's, I love coming to this event, so it's two-way, and I think the key is communication.
And we want to hear that, and so we do have a survey prepped for when everybody leaves here. You will get a survey, and I ask our members all the time, please fill them out. We do read them, every single one of them, and every time we see something, we're like, oh yeah, we can do that, or we can't do that, or whatever, but we do listen, and we want to continue to do that to build this organization for y'all.
Excellent.
Yes, sir.
I think sort of getting them at the international level and joining the club overall is important, but getting them to their first local rally is key.
Absolutely.
And so we went, when we joined, we got signed up at the time, either, added to the club. We didn't go to a rally until a year later. We didn't know anything about it. And so how does the club then get access to all of those members and make sure that they show up at a local rally, right off the bat?
Yeah, so our marketing strategy right now, everybody who's coming into our club, our goal is to get them to an event. I don't want to sound harsh, but I don't care if they're part of a local club, a member at large, whatever it is. I know if we can get them to an event, that's the hook, right? That's the deal. So every week, Amanda's not in here. Amanda Hughes, our membership chair, she's running around here. But every week she does send out communications to the local clubs and the region, so you know who's coming into your group. We actually just launched a new membership portal for anybody in the club that has a role of a membership chair. You're going to have a snapshot of the back end of what we see. So you can get more reports, more communication, so you can reach out to those people. And again, then we're working on tools to help those, like Eric mentioned. I'm as guilty as everybody else. I get to a big event, I see people I know, I run over, I start talking to them, and then next thing you know, 2 hours have gone by and so many new people walk by me and I didn't pay any attention. So we're trying to work on some more tools to help people, those icebreakers, right, for those newbies to grab their arm and tell them, come on, let's do it together. Go ahead, sir.
So we're first timers, but second generation here.
Yay.
So we're continuing with that here. But my question was, you look at these big events as far as like music festivals, Coachella, and maybe reggae festivals, beer and wine or kind of festivals. Having a intentional presence at these places, where you can have maybe 100, couple hundred, and it's kind
Sure, the question was how to get our presence at some of these large events, the music festivals and stuff. And so we dipped our toe into that. It was last minute. Some of you may notice that there was a music festival about 2 weeks ago that was focused on bass camps, basically. And so a gentleman who owns a music production, a festival production company, he's a member, he has a bass camp, and we just put it in our blog and on our website. And so a number of people went to that. That was exactly what you're talking about. So this is a third-party related thing. We wanted the Airstream Club presence there. And it seriously was a music event. And there was a group of bass camps there, and that was that. So we're gonna do more things like that. But we're just getting started, just to be fair. You know.
Follow-up question to that too, or comment to that, is, you know, that there's a stigma behind Airstream, like, oh, it's just rich people.
Right.
You know, buy an RV for like 5 times as much as what a normal RV costs. But, you know, the reality is, I mean, you picked up our 98 Excel Classic for 35 grand. It's affordable.
Yeah.
And that, you know, if you push, if you can kind of have a program where you're pushing, which I think you already do, but push how Airstream, you can buy an older Airstream for 20 grand. People are fixing up vans, they can fix up Airstreams when you're 30 years old or 25 years old.
Okay, yeah, understood.
Absolutely.
So, if you can get people into an Airstream, no matter how old it is, their next one's probably gonna be a new one eventually.
Right. So the question about how do we get more people to do it. By the way, the problem right now, I think, is that not people buying, a lot of people are buying Airstreams, as you can know from the factory. Now, the factory only focuses on new ones, so that's where we come in to help too. But yeah, trying to get people to understand that it's not an elitist activity. In fact, one of the things that our board talked about in Jackson Center, we had the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And one of them was about perceptions. We talked about how are we perceived. There's a couple slides on it. And we do believe that we're perceived by a lot of people as elitist. For example, you would never hear me say the term SOB, by the way, because to me, that comes across as elitist. So I'm not saying don't do it, but you would never hear me say that term. And so things like that, right, about welcoming other people that have other trailers over to join us, that helps destigmatize our club. It is perceived as a lot of people with money, but as you say, a lot of young people and families are buying Airstreams now for whatever reason. And so it is not a club of old rich people for sure. But we need to do some more work on that. If you look at our advertising now, it has people of multiple ages. It doesn't look like an old retired community in most of our advertising now. There's a question back here.
I have a question.
Oh, hang on, wait, she's back there first. Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you. Hi, Eric.
Yes,
You remember meeting me?
I do. You had a great story.
I'm not gonna tell it now, though.
Okay.
That's not the purpose of raising my hand. I just had something to consider for first timers or newbies. So a lot of people here were in the military, as was I. And when you got to a new base, a new location, you were met by a person there who was your sponsor. And that person was there assigned to you to kind of take you around and meet other people and just kind of somebody you could meet and rely on. And I just think it would be a great way for first timers and even second timers maybe, you know, have a volunteer, have somebody assigned to you as your sponsor to help you get through the rough patches. So that's my suggestion.
Yes, thank
to
you,
think about.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's a really good best practice. And not that we consider everything, but this came up during our strategy session. One of the regions has a name for that program, but we need to expose that best practice to other clubs too.
It's Region 6. Anybody
Region
Region
6,
6
yeah.
here. I'm
They
sorry.
have
Yeah,
some,
I'm
it's like
drawing
a
a blank.
mentor program or something like that, I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
All right, yes, over here.
Following up on her, we're from the Colorado group, and we have an ambassador club.
Ambassador
So-
club,
so-
yeah.
So when we have a big maintenance rally, we have 85 trailers, we assign ambassadors to each of the new first-time attendees. But my question was, do you have a channel to Airstream on design opportunities? Like, for example, the steps. Everywhere we go, they're selling these $150 T-bars. Why don't Airstream give you one when you buy a trailer? If the steps are designed to be less sturdy,
So
why
let
don't
me
they
just
redesign them?
let me just generalize that question. So one of the things we heard a lot from region presidents, and we know it too, is that we sort of feel like we're Airstream Club members and we have a pretty captive, highly engaged, highly loyal audience. And so in Jackson Center, I forgot to mention, we were hosted at the Airstream factory. Actually, Bob Wheeler, the CEO, let us use his corporate boardroom for 3 days, use the private cafeteria for 3 days. And Bob Wheeler himself and all of his senior executive team joined us for about a half a day of discussion, by the way. So it was highly involved. And in that discussion, we brought to them is that we want a special conduit back into the factory.
We called it the bat phone. We wanted a bat phone. No, you go ahead.
Yeah, and they said, that sounds good, because if they look at us, we're trusted and we're experienced. I mean, we're the type of customer they want to hear feedback from. So the details haven't been fleshed out yet, but whenever you work with someone on a partnership, you look for things that you have a common interest in. And that is a common interest we identified, is that they want to hear from us and we want to tell them. And so we're thinking of some vehicle for doing that more than just go to this webpage, because you would probably not be surprised how many calls Lori and her team get about, hey, you know, my bumper fell off, or hey, my air conditioner doesn't work, or why the crap do you do this, right? And so we want to get it to Airstream in a way that is usable by them. Maybe we consolidate some of our feedback so they don't have to have each one of us directly. I mean, we want to have a way that if someone puts in a request or a comment or feedback, that our member gets some feedback that says, yes, I got it, and thank you for your stuff. So that is one of the things we're doing. And again, this is this thing, I can't stress enough about what we agreed to in Jackson Center with Airstream, is that we're really trying to bring our organization closer together again, back to where they were a long time ago. We didn't have that until fairly recently. For some reasons I'll share privately, but we're past that now. I mean, just, seriously, the fact that the CEO of Airstream brought his exec staff down to spend a day with us and use their corporate boardroom for 3 days, they don't do that. And their employee cafeteria, we had a private tour, and we're gonna do it every year. And now, Lori, you have regular meetings with their marketing staff also. That never happened before too. So anyway, stuff like that we're doing. So one of the things that this new board we're trying to do, we're trying to act like a big company basically. And I was telling someone before that it's really great to have 104 local clubs that are all different, but that doesn't swing a lot of weight when you go talk to a vendor like a Yeti or a Ford. The better way to approach a Yeti or a Ford is with our whole club. We've got, 18,000 members, significant purchasing power, and so that's how we want to negotiate. We're trying to negotiate now at a higher level, and that means negotiating centrally versus negotiating every local club. That's a big deal for us, and we're trying to get better at this now, but it's something we're learning to do more now. I would guess most of you who've been longtime club members have never heard a discussion like this before on our strategic initiatives, our partnerships. This is a new thing for us, so be patient. All right, other questions? Yeah.
First of all, I want to compliment you on the Future Streamers Club, because many people, to see the families juggle those kids and dogs is incredible. And also a lot of people are working remotely, so by offering, I hear, a camp that the kids get to go to the camp, that's fabulous. More families could be part of our family.
So I want to expand on that, because this is one of these ideas that it didn't come from me or the board of trustees. It came from a lady, Misty Roach. She's from Minnesota, yeah. But she came to us 2 years ago in in Tennessee, and said, I got 2 kids in my trailer. My husband's working. I homeschool them. No one to play with. I want to form something for kids. We couldn't do it in Tennessee, but we got a little bit better at it in Maine. And probably for 2 years now, we've been planning a special space for future streamers. Because what Misty explained to me, it's not just parents with kids, it's parents with grandkids. And so if you go up there to future streamers, probably half the people are people our age that have grandkids. And Misty's vision was, I want a place where, so she says, we love our kids, but I want a time where the parents can sit down and socialize, and the kids can play over there in sight distance, and we feel safe. She says, I don't like it when they're all spread across the camp, so we created this special space for them. So, but that was an idea by a member, right? And so things like that we're really looking forward to hearing. It used to be in our club was just full of kids. you go to a WBCCI rally 30 years ago and all the kids would be there. In the last few years, we probably, I don't know, 2% at best of kids. So 20, 30 kids. And so we're trying to change that. So kudos to Misty, did a fantastic job.
And to tag on to that, we also have a kids camp at Raleigh every year now. Corey Barger's doing a fantastic job of programming in the morning, having
Robotics.
Thank you. You know, that kind of stuff, but all these different little things. So we're trying to make sure that when the kids do get here, between future streamers and the kids camp, that they have a great experience and they want to keep coming back.
What's the age range that you have here of kids that are here?
Babies to 99.
So there's another couple, the Grindles are from our Greater Bay Area. Their kids are older, and they're probably in their, how old, do you know, teens?
7.
What's that? 7. But what are the age roughly?
7.
7.
Oh, 7, okay, right. So, but they're into gaming, right, in that age, and so they've set up a gaming room to do gaming in, which is fine, right? So that's what they do, right? And so, but there's younger kids also, they're doing painting and stuff like that. So we're trying to accommodate sort of the teens, down to younger. All right, other questions? Yeah.
We ran into a couple that had a fairly strong participation in the tab. And I'm just curious from our club's perspective, do we interact with other communities like the tab community they're essentially selling the same product or building the same product.
Okay. So this falls into the area of external communications and partnerships. So how many of you are members of Escapees? Escapees, it's an RV club. What about FMCA? Probably not Tiffin. And so Lori, you may want to talk about this, but in the last couple of years, we've started to compare notes and share strategies with especially Escapees. Maybe talk about how this impacts actually this rally here.
Yeah, so, sorry, my time went, I can't keep track of time anymore, but anyway, we started having conversations with Escapees. Escapees was here last year. Actually, when we were in Lebanon, they were coming in the year after. And all of the clubs, Escapees, Frog, Tiffin, Newmar, we all had the same issue of finding a place to rally. They want to do it, although I think we're special, that's okay. So again, we're not sharing, dollars, but we are definitely sharing resources. Like, Escapees goes to Tucson every year. So of course, saves us time and resources that I know now everything that happens in Tucson without us having to spend time and stuff. So absolutely, we're connecting with each other, and I can see those relationships going with other clubs, because I come from the shelter world, so in animal welfare, it's the same thing. We're all after the same goal, so we might as well share our resources. All right, I saw some other hands.
All right, add another thing that's kind of cool. So those of you that are long time from international rallies, in the past, you would be assigned a parking date. You remember that? So in the past, it was you sign up for a rally, and they say the rally starts on Saturday. We knew we couldn't bring in 800 people at the same date, so you were assigned an arbitrary date ahead of that to come in for parking. The problem was you couldn't predict when that was, and you also couldn't coordinate with your friends coming because they may have assigned a different assigned parking date. So we did this year, this is based basically on some feedback we got from Escapees, is that we decided, hey, let less people pick 3 days ahead of time. And we were really nervous because what if no one did, and all 1,300 came on Saturday or Friday. But Escapees assured us that in their experience, it gets kind of spread out across those 3 days. That, in fact, is what happened. So that was a really good best practice. Our members seem to have loved it because you can pick when you want to come in. This whole idea of staying after is something that we learned from here. They stay and play. We'll probably do that more often as well. I think Escapees will probably do that often as well too. So we are trying to share best practices, and we haven't engaged with TAB. We're looking at the ones that are more of the same demographics. There's a lot of our members who are members of Escapees, by the way. So. Lori.
I just wanted to say that I think the Campfire Chats were a great addition, and I learned a lot more about the structure of the club front and how the leadership is put together by watching the meetings on the YouTube channel, and just hearing you two talk to us as if we're out of Campfire, and I just want to say thanks.
Thank you. I enjoy doing it, actually. I think our goal at HQ is to make sure our membership uses their membership and loves their membership. So any questions? Of course, the skeleton crew at HQ may be killing me right now, but yes, please call HQ, email us. And then I do think when Eric and I are online that it helps just answer some of those general questions. So I love doing it. I don't know about you.
So it's really great, and it provides great benefits. So one thing, again, I can't talk about yet, it's not done yet either, is that two of our members, in my message I always say, if you have any thoughts or ideas, email me. You'd be surprised how many emails I get. I love to read all of them. I respond to almost all of them. Two of our members said, hey, we love the courtesy parking program, but we have some ideas how to make that better. And it may happen. If it happens, it'd be really quite exciting. But the ideas that come from our membership, and I think it's because we're reaching out to y'all. I think you all understand we want to hear them.
Yeah.
Give us your ideas. Again, the Future Trip is an idea. We just started a kayaking one, and this thing about courtesy parking could be really huge if it happens. We're negotiating with another company. But things like that, your thoughts, we really, really want to hear. That's why we're having these also.
Quick question, the printed blue beret, we're on the road about half time, and so, maybe I'll get 3 or 4 in, and they tend to just stack up. I've already looked at the e-version. That's got to be a fairly significant expense unless having the advertiser, the pages, covers that cost. It seems like it'd be nice to have an option to do away with getting a printed blue beret.
Yeah. Okay,
Can you do that now? We stepped out for a couple of years, so maybe it's passed me by.
So there's a couple of answers. I will talk about the blue beret thing. So first of all of our members have had the ability for years now to opt out of the printing. I think the last time we looked, maybe 20% have opted out. It's even
That's less than that.
I think it's because it's inertia. You have to go online and actually do it. It doesn't cost anything, to you, so people don't check that box and say don't get it. We did, but But I think the broader question though, and this is what we're talking about a lot right now, you probably heard a little bit about it, we're really trying to improve our communications vehicles to match how our members consume their content, right? And so the board has said, and I firmly agree, we're going to keep publishing a blue beret. By the way, it's going to be updated. It has been updated in design update. That's actually, we shared it with the board last week, I think. It's a really pretty design, Wally Bime on the top. It looks more modern, more consistent with our brand. That's happening already. But also we're looking at reducing the frequency of the printed blue beret, but also starting to do a monthly blue beret bulletin. How many of you get the ribbon from Airstream, the factory? Basically, it's pretty much like something you get from Harvest Host where it says, here are the 4 or 5 things happening this month that we want you to know about. And there's a little button to say, click here to read more. It comes in your email, it's on your phone, it works great. So we're gonna be starting that in August or September, or? Sure. Maybe September, August, September.
Remember, that was an after rally question. After rally. Set a hard date, I promise.
So that will start to come out, and that will be called the Blue Beret Bulletin. So there's the Blue Beret Bulletin was come out once a month, 12 times a year, with click here to read more. And again, it's just on your phone, it said click here to read more. We also, some of you saw, we soft launched something about a month ago called the Blue Beret Blog. And so those articles will connect to the blog. And if you look at our Blue Beret blog, there's probably around 20 or 30 articles right now they're really great on a mobile phone. It talks about towing, it talks about caravan, talks about strategy stuff, president's messages. There's a lot of cooking stories. It's stuff we take it out of the Blue Beret. We put it into a content that you can actually read really well on your mobile phone. Those 3 things together, the Blue Beret printed online reader version, Blue Beret Bulletin, and Blue Beret Blog are the way we're trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about connectivity. This is go off the road a lot. And one problem is mail, and it's a whole different problem. But the other is, I can't get online and learn what's going on. We were off the bridge for a couple of weeks before the rallies. I had no idea what was going on. I really don't know how to deal with that. Do you?
So talk about being off the grid. I think as we looked at this, like a lot of, my wife and I are on the road for like 6 months a year. Although we have Starlink, we're on the grid a lot. But there are times you go off the grid. And unfortunately, you go off the grid, there's no way you're gonna find out what happened next month or last week. It just isn't gonna happen. So the reality is you're off the grid, you're out of communication. It's not a bad thing always. Most of our club stuff is not urgent. But when you come back on the grid, you wanna have a way to easily look at what's happening, what you wanna focus on. I look at it that way. There are some things we do want to provide off grid, but very, very few of those things. And frankly, for most members who say they're off grid a lot, you look at their Facebook messages. Somehow they're all on. And very actively too. So we push back a little bit on that. Most people are not off the grid a lot. Okay.
So there's some kind of archives.
Yes.
Go back when you are connected and see what you.
So if you need to go to, it's called blog.airstreamclub.org. And probably in a month or so, it'll be on our website and be pushed out. And when these Blueberry bulletins come out, or even my next president's message on July 1st, there'll be something that says read more, and you click on it, it'll take you to the blog, and we call it durable articles, because if you see the Airstream articles, you know, about how to tow, how do you hook up your trailer, how do you do this, they're all these little nice little articles. Air Gear has them, pretty much everyone has them nowadays. We have that now too. You can go back, you can look by, you know, I forget the topics on it. There's gear, there's tools, history, rallies. Yeah, it's a nicely simple thing. So hope you guys like it, take a look at it. It's out there now. It's really nice on social media. And any of you who have followed some of the Facebook discussions, you'll see me linking to that blog in there. You just click on it and read the article. It's pretty good actually. There's a question here, yeah.
I know you can't do anything about this immediately, but as far as with new members especially, the website is so hard to negotiate. If you have to have a class on how to negotiate your website, I just, and
Okay,
I know
so-
that's a hard thing, I know it's expensive and all of that, but hopefully ultimately you'll be able to do something new.
So as part of our internal communication strategy and external, the website was a huge deal. We spent a lot of time talking about it in Jackson Center. And so what the board decided, these are region presidents, we decided that we don't want to do a new website. We need to freshen up the current one, make it easier to read, right? And so that's one thing. And so we asked the region presidents to, every one of them to volunteer a person from their region to serve on a website redesign committee to help us work on the structure of the website. We also are improving the search. That's gonna go live in a week or so,
Yeah,
I
it should
think.
be within the week.
Within a week. I won't bore you with it, but the search functionality didn't work well at all. And so we just invested $2,000 or $3,000 to improve the search capability. And again, this was really nice. We saw a test of it last week. That'll help a lot too.
Yeah, that would help a lot. I mean, I'm pretty technically savvy, and it really is, and it can be very frustrating, so it's
So-
good to hear you're working towards it.
So I'm an engineer. We also looked at data. So if you do a website, you could actually look at where people go when they go to your website. What are the top topics? Does anyone want to guess what the top topic is of people who visit our website? It's rallies. Well, they may be other, but rallies is the top one of the top ones. The other top one is accessing your membership profile page. They go there to change your address or contact information. Caravans. Caravans. It was this rally because of the timing, right? So rally 2023. Not that much on caravans. And the other segment of it was for local club leaders and officers to access club information about, you know, how do you do your travel expense form, how do you blah, 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 right? Those are the main things. It kind of makes sense, right? They want to know about, President's Corner was the other one, by the way. Did I mention that? But fundamentally, it's about new information. It's about what events are happening next. And it was about this rally. And it was about accessing membership profile. It wasn't a lot of other things. That was by far the majority of the traffic on our website. So we're chartering this team to look at this information and redesign our website so that's what you see first. The other stuff doesn't matter as much. But anyway, so that's the strategy on that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait.
we got one there. And one
Oh,
there.
back here.
I see ya. I don't know. Don't worry.
Yes. Okay, so the question was on the annual membership directory. How many of you know what the annual membership directory is? Okay, how many use it on a regular basis? In the last, more than four times a year. So what we're hearing from, it actually costs a fair bit of money to print. The feedback we've gotten in general, mind you, your region presidents are asking you these questions right now, as a matter of fact, is that for a printing cost of, how much? About $35,000. How much is it used and for what reason? We are finding it probably at best 20% of our members probably ever use it. If they want to find out whose big red number that is, they'll use their smartphone, look on their smartphone, or they'll look at a local club directory. So the question before the board was, is this money well spent? You guys are paying $75 a year, and it's a lot of money. And so the proposal right now is to eliminate the printed membership directory altogether, use the online tools, but also to publish that information quarterly on our website in a PDF form. So people if they want, they can download it. There's some other options that are being considered. One option being considered is to allow the members to request it from headquarters, and we would send out a printed directory to them. So basically it's opt-in versus opt-out, right? And again, we think that probably 10 to 20% of our members will actually ask for it. That cost is probably $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 versus printing it for everyone. So those are some options we're looking at right now. It would probably be, one option is to make it free for life members, which would be really cool. So a life member could get one directory free each year. If you're not a life member, it would be shipping and handling. So we're looking at that stuff, and we think that might be a nice balance between, I really want it, so I don't care, or I can just buy it. Now, we don't know yet. The region presidents are polling your regions right now to find out what they want. And I think I know where it's gonna go. We'll know more, I think they're getting together on the 6th or 7th, in a couple of weeks actually, or less. And then we'll do that. Does that answer your question? But I want to say also, more importantly, it's that feedback I talked about. You know, your region presidents are the ones that, when they come to the table, they're expected to bring back the feedback and understand the demographics. I guarantee you, it's a different demographic from the West Coast, the South, the North, the East, to whatever. There's an age demographic also, right? So it depends, and that's what their job is, to bring back what's best for their region. And then they kind of make the decision. I don't get a chance to vote. I have an opinion, but I don't vote. But fundamentally, it's listening to our members.
The gentleman back there.
Yeah.
Earlier, an exit survey was mentioned, and my wife and I are going to be leaving early from the rally. Will that be sent to us electronically?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the exit survey will go out electronically Saturday. Christy, yes. So it'll go to your emails.
There's a limited time to do that though too, because I missed it last year.
So it'll go out the day that we close, which will be Saturday, and it's open for 2 weeks, typically. That's what it's open for.
Okay, I think we're running out of time. I think most of you either have or can find my information to send me questions or comments or feedback. I welcome it. I do not say that lightly. I think you all understand it's a genuine offer. I love it actually.